good to be with you today. My name is Nick. I'm the rector of Rockland and Surlingham and some of the other villages nearby, which means I look after the church and, as far as I can, the people of our villages. And it's very good to be with you as we think about people who have done special things. We're thinking particularly about Christians and the impact they've had. Before I talk about today's person, I'd like us just to think about what the problems of the world are. What are the real big issues that the world are facing? And you might want to pause in a moment and just talk to your neighbour or talk to your teacher about some of the problems that there are in the world. Obviously, we've got the pandemic going on, but what are the other problems? Are there problems to do with the environment, to do with wars, to do with climate and hunger, things like that? Let's just spend a moment thinking about all those issues. Having thought about all the things that are going wrong in the world, that make people's lives hard, who do we think should be sorting those problems out? Who are the best people to really engage with those and try and make things better? Let's just pause for a moment again and think about who those people might be. What kind of skills do they need? What kind of power do they need? Okay, well, I'm sure we can think of different kinds of people who might be able to address these really big problems. But there's one person who thought that actually the person who has to address the problems of the world is the person looking in the mirror. It was herself. Her name was Agnes. She was born in the year 1910 in a country that's now called Albania. And she was brought up as a Christian, as a Catholic. And when she was 12 years old, she realised that she actually wanted to give her life to serving God. And when she was 18, she wanted to become a nun. She wanted to live in a religious community, and she wanted to be a missionary. And a missionary is someone who is sent out by the church into another country, usually to share the gospel. And so she became a nun, and she took the name Teresa, because nuns always take a new name when they join their order. And she trained to be a teacher. She learned English so that she could go and work in India, because India was being ruled by Britain at that point. And she went to work in a school, and she started to learn the languages of the Indian people, Bengali and other languages. And this was quite a good life. She enjoyed teaching, but she realised that there were people who were far too poor to go to their school. And she felt that God was calling her not to live in the convent with the other nuns, but to live with the really, really poor people and try and help them. And so up until then, she wore a nun's habit. That's the kind of the veil and clothing of a nun. I don't know if you've ever watched Call the Midwife, but some of the people in that TV drama were nuns. She stopped wearing those clothes and wore a sari, which is the simple wraparound dress worn by Indian women. And she tried to live among them and to start to help. And it was really, really difficult because she felt very lonely. She was not understood. People thought that she was there to try and turn them into Catholics, and they threw stones at her. And she wanted to give up. Part of her just wanted to go back and live in the convent again. But she knew that to serve God, she had to stay there and make it work. And it began to work, and others began to join her. and she soon had a community of nuns. I think there were about 13 of them. And they took over a disused Hindu temple and turned it into a place where people who were dying on the streets could be cared for and looked after and loved and made to feel special. She wasn't trying to turn them into Christians. If they were Muslims, she would read the Quran to them, or if they're Hindus, she'd bring water from the sacred river Ganges for them. But they were just there to be looked after and cared for in God's name. And although people were suspicious, they also really began to value what she was doing in some of the really poor parts of Calcutta, one of the big cities of India. And it started a movement that grew and grew, and people came and they wanted to help. And so they set up medical centres and schools, and they became a worldwide movement. Mother Teresa, as she was known, was given all kinds of honours across the world, but she wasn't really interested in them any more than she was interested in the criticism that she faced and the way that people blamed her. For her, those things didn't matter. What really mattered was what she could do for others. She didn't solve the problems of Calcutta and its many poor people, but instead she focused on what she could do, on those she could help. And she said some things. This is one of the things she said. What we are doing is just a drop in the ocean, but the ocean would be less because of that missing drop. It's just a drop in the ocean, but without it, the ocean would be one drop less. She also said, not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love. It isn't the thing itself, it's the love that goes into it that matters. If you can't feed 100 people, she said, then just feed one. And when would be the right time to do that? Well, she said, yesterday is gone. Tomorrow has not yet come. We have only today. Let us begin. And so Mother Teresa did those small things with great love and taught her followers to do the same. And when she died as an elderly lady, she was given a state funeral by the Indian government because she had become so respected for the way in which she had come to live among people and to help them. And she did that in God's name. And after she died, the church made her a saint. A saint is one of God's holy ones, someone who we can look up to and whose God's light has shone through their lives. And so we give thanks for Mother Teresa and think what it might mean for us to help others, to do what we can, not to say that's someone else's job, that's the government that needs to do that. No, it can start with us. That's what she's saying. So it might be good just to think for a moment, what are the small things that we can do with great love for others? Perhaps we can just pause and talk about those things. Okay, Mother Teresa wasn't afraid of what people thought of her. And so she would say what she believed to really powerful people. And one of the things she believed was that for there to be peace and love in the world, you didn't need guns and bombs. I wonder what she would say about our world today. Things are difficult in our country at the moment because of the pandemic, and we're very short of money. And because of that, our government is cutting the aid that it sends to countries like the Yemen, where there's a civil war, and Syria, where, again, there's been fighting for 10 years. And that's going to have quite an impact on how people are educated, on the medical care they get and the food they receive. But at the same time as doing that, we're also going to spend more money on defence. And defence means that we're going to upgrade our weapons, we're going to have more nuclear weapons, we're going to have more technology that's really expensive and not been tried out yet. And I just wonder if you think that there might be a Christian viewpoint on that. When we think about Mother Teresa, do you think that some Christians might have something to say about that? And I wonder what you would think about that, about how governments spend money, and also whether ordinary people like you and me should be doing something about it, should be saying something about it. There's a thought I'd like to leave you with now. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a good Easter holiday. Bye-bye for now.